Alright, I am excited because I just got this box in, and this is the AT&T Internet Air kit that you set up for yourself for your home internet. Now, this is not a hotspot. This is a service that is designed for home use, and it uses their 5G cellular connection to get you fast speeds. Now, it's about a max 140 megabits per second download and about 25 megabits per second upload. At least that's what they advertise. That's what we're going to test here today. And they tell you you can get it up in like 5 or 10 minutes of setup. It should be a plug and play device, so that's what we will test out as well. You notice here off to the side I have a Verizon one in the white and a T-Mobile one in the left. These are Verizon and T-Mobile's home internet. These are direct competitors to this AT&T one. Lots of videos on those if you're interested in that, but for this one we will focus just on this AT&T one. Now, this is about $55 a month. I think that's with the auto pay discount, and I don't think they have any bundling discounts, which both AT&T and Verizon do. If you have one of their unlimited plans, you get some bundled prices. AT&T is kind of a flat rate there, and their data is unlimited just like these other ones as well, so that's good. The bad side is that the availability is kind of hit or miss right now. They are expanding. They're trying to play catch up, really. T-Mobile is dominating as far as where is it available. Verizon is in second place. AT&T is just now expanding based off their own network capacity. Me personally, I'm in AT&T's 5G Plus area, so that's right now their best signal capability. So I should be able to get the fastest speeds. So that's what we'll test here, and we will find out. So let me open up this box and show you the quick setup, and then we'll do a quick speed test and see how it does. Alright, and if you are new to my channel, you haven't watched my videos before, or if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. I am Nate, and this is the Nader Tater channel. And I cover lots of different topics. 5G cellular home internet is probably the biggest one out there, but I also cover things like Wi-Fi or home networking, security camera, smart home, as well as some oddball things I do around my property like snow plowing, go-karts, and that kind of stuff. So consider subscribing and tuning in for more videos as we go through these. Let's open up this box and see what it has. Okay, well, they were not lying about not being a lot in there. You don't have much of a choice other than to plug and play, because they only give you the gateway and the power adapter. The instructions are actually on the lid of the box, and it just tells you that 1 is your hub and 2 is your power supply, and then go to their website for more information. So I'm going to plug it in, and then we'll see what it does. Alright, so I just plugged it in, and I see the lights are coming on. I also hear a fan. I'll try to be quiet here for a second and see if you can pick it up. You can hear it when it's this close to you, but it's not obtrusive, and it might turn off here after a while. But, yep, there it goes. It turned off. Okay, so it stayed on for about 20 seconds or something. And I mention that because some of these other devices actually overheat without a fan if they're in sunlight or in a hot environment. The Verizon Arcadian one has a fan. I think the ASCII one does not. The T-Mobile ones do not. So this one is powered on and plugged in. And I lied a little bit about the instructions. There is actually a sticker I notice now on the front of this that has a QR code that you can scan, and I assume it's going to bring you to a website. So that's what we'll do, because otherwise you might not know how do you connect to it. Now, on the back of it is a sticker, which is true for most routers nowadays, and they have information as far as what the Wi-Fi network is, the name that you'll see like on your phone pop up. It'll give you the password, which is a very confusing jumble of letters and symbols. That is not an easy one to remember. I do like some of these other ones that actually have at least plain English passwords. And then there's a device access code, and that's for logging into it directly and messing with the advanced settings, which we will of course do as well. So on the back side also, you can see back here is 2 ports. One is a 1 gigabit per second port in yellow, and the other one is a 10 gigabit per second port in blue. And then there is a USB port back here. Most of these devices don't accept storage, but I'll look into that to see if maybe you can actually have a network attached storage on here. These other ones typically just supply power through that USB. Then there's a reset button there in red, and I don't see, at least at first glance, oh yeah, there's a WPS button. This is a quick way for you to pair devices that support that function. A lot of devices that are kind of hard to like type in passwords and Wi-Fi, like printers and other smart home devices. WPS is a nice feature. So this guy's obviously blinking at me, doing some stuff. I probably don't have signal actually for AT&T down here in the basement. I barely get Verizon and T-Mobile down here without a booster turned on. But let me go ahead and scan this QR code and just see what it brings us to. Alright, so let's scan this QR code here. Got us a link. You can see it's showing you there my serial number for this device. So that's a it looks like a unique code actually for that specific device. It's not a generic website it goes to. Alright, so interesting. It brings you to a smart home manager app in the Play Store, and then it tells me my tablet's not compatible, so I can't actually install it on the tablet. I will show you on the phone how to do that in case you are interested in using the app instead of the login, because I bet you I can get to these same settings or more settings going directly to the website, and I'll do that as well. But just to show you guys, I will download the Smart Home Manager app. Alright, so on the front page you can see you can sign in our setup equipment. We obviously are going to set up the equipment because we have not done this before. I will let it get my QR code. Okay, so this is nice because there is a QR code on the back of it and you can just scan it. Okay, so you need to have the QR code on this one, not the one on the back of it. I guess I probably could have read the instructions. It probably would have told me that, but I didn't. I thought I was smarter than it. So let's get started. This one says 20 minutes, so I think their TV commercial lied. Alright, so it needs to put it where the signal is the best. It's not there, but we were going to try this setup anyways down here and see what it does. Alright, so it's going to run a quality check. I know it's going to be bad down here, but we'll let it do its thing and then we'll see. Alright, so this is pretty annoying because I plugged it in a few minutes ago and it looks like the app has a built-in wait feature where it's going to wait 3 minutes anyways, even though it's already powered up. Now I saw that the time updated because it showed like 2:22, which is not that time, and then it just updated to 10:27, which is the accurate time right now. Alright, now I have a signal strength, and you can tell I get one little dot out of all of them, and it's saying 2.5 down and 0.7 up. So I mean, I must admit this is awesome. Actually, I'm really impressed with the display. It's a very simple display, these little dot, like a dot matrix display, but it gives me all the key information I want right now. So that was pretty neat that it did that. I'm going to move this up stairs, probably my 3rd floor loft area, which is where I like to keep my other ones when I'm trying to use them to get the best speed. I don't know what this app is doing though. It's just sitting here and that bar is not moving, which is kind of annoying. Alright, so this thing still hasn't moved. It's been over 3 minutes, so I'm just going to close it out. Alright, I give up. It's taking too long, so I'm going to go move this upstairs and I'll test it up there to let it do its checkout with better signal. Alright, I got it set up and I got it working upstairs now. Ultimately, you don't actually have to use the app. Once you plug it in, it connects. It will actually start working. You can connect to the Wi-Fi using either the QR code on the back, which is it tells your device the SSID and the password, or you can manually type it in. And the internet is working so long as you have signal. So the app is really just to help you optimize it, and the app did not work for me. It would get stuck on 3 minutes for the device to power up. It would run a speed test, so it basically is telling this device to run a speed test, and it would give me those speed test results. but the app would never continue. I even waited about 15 minutes with it on that main page. It said, about 3 minutes to go, and the little status bar never moved. So I don't know if that's a app issue specifically with my Android phone and the app, or my hub or whatever, but it works. And once I just eventually said, okay, forget the setup, log in to my my smart app here, and it was connected. I did tell it to connect, had to manually tell it to connect to the Wi-Fi, and then I was able to use that app to actually go in and look at the settings, run a speed test. It has some nice features in there, like it does when it does a speed test, it's actually doing two tests. One is from the test server to the gateway directly, and the other one's from the gateway to your device. So that's really helpful. Let's say if you have this device in the middle of the house or on the far edge of the house, and you want to test your internet speed away from the gateway, your home, depending on how far away you are, you might get lower speed because of the Wi-Fi on this, not because of the cellular. So it's telling you that, hey, your cell signal is still good at the gateway, but now you're starting to get outside the reach of the Wi-Fi that this puts out. So I think that is helpful. But then otherwise, the app is pretty limited as far as what type of settings you can change. You can change the SSID and the password. You can add like a guest Wi-Fi. But then really, if you want any of the advanced settings, it basically just sends you to the URL, the 192.168.1.254. That's on the back of here. And that's what I'll show you here now of what are the advanced settings with the AT&T device. Alright, now before I get too far, I did want to go back to the box, and there is a URL on there, a website to go to. And just to make sure I didn't miss any of the instructions that they are handing out to consumers here, I said let me go to that website and just make sure I know what's out there. And what it brings you to is a self-install setup for your All-Fi hub, and it has a video of how to set it up. So I said, great, maybe I'll learn something here that the app didn't cover, or the lack of instruction manuals didn't cover. So I hit play here.
Bienvenido a AT&T Internet Air. Este video muestra pasos simples para configurar
As
tu
you can
nuevo
see,
AT&T
it's all in Spanish.
All-Fi hub.
I went through it all. I looked at all the settings. There's no place for me to change it out. I double checked. My URL is standard US American. I don't see anything. Oh, I see up here in the top right it does say version in Spanish. Oh, I think this is actually switching it to Spanish. Alright, so I switched it to the Spanish version. Let's just see if the Spanish one has an English.
Bienvenido a AT&T Internet Air.
Okay, so even the Spanish one has a Spanish video, so at least that one's correct. But basically, I didn't get anything else helpful out of that, other than there was a picture in that video that showed it gave the person a direction of what corner of the house to put the device. So it said like go to the far northeast corner or something, and that means to me that they're using your phone GPS is my assumption, to then say, okay, your nearest tower is in this direction, go put the gateway in that direction. That's something you do need to know about all of these cellular based gateways for internet, is their location matters, very important. Just like down here, I basically get no speed, and if I go upstairs I can get significantly faster speeds. Alright, so if I look at my speeds that I got about 100 megabits per second down, and about 7 to 10 megabits per second up, which is very good actually from a usability standpoint. You can stream multiple 4K resolution videos or movies that way. You can do gaming, you can do web surfing, you can do lots of activities even with a family with that type of speed. But there's a lot of other nuances to internet speed other than just that speed, and one of them is things like latency or ping. And in that case, the AT&T one did fall behind where I'd like it to be, with higher ping and latency than I would really like. So I haven't tested things like video conferencing with it, but that's one of the places I personally would see issues, is with a lag in my video back to the other party. Now, one thing I do want to say I actually do really like about the AT&T setup is if you go to their website and support and go to internet support, and then at the top there you have to hit internet air, not internet or fixed wireless. You want internet air, because that's what we have here. And then they have some browse for solutions or ask the community, but you can also do some actual remote, I guess, interrogation or diagnosis here, where you can look at your Wi-Fi, add the guest Wi-Fi. You can check your gateway speed. So if your stuff's acting up at home, you can go in remotely and check the speed. You can see the connected devices on there, and then obviously it tells you about the smart home app. So that is some of the features that you can do here. Alright, so now for the advanced settings, you can go in the smart home app and actually click advanced settings. I think it gives you a warning. Maybe you're sure you're a pro, you want to do this. You click yes, but then just opens up a web browser. So I'm going to go ahead and type in this IP address, which is on the back sticker of the device. Alright, and this is what you land on after you type in that IP address, and it loads. Now you obviously do need to be connected to the gateway itself, and for my tablet here I'm actually using a Ethernet to USB adapter, so I can do this here. I want to show you what the settings are in here. You can see that the broadband connection is up. Alright, so once you type in that IP address, you get to the landing page here. Now obviously you do need to be connected directly to it. For me, I'm using a Ethernet to USB-C adapter, so I can show you it here on the tablet, but you can do this over Wi-Fi with your phone, with a computer or whatnot. And then it's showing you here a couple different things here. It has some common tasks there for that you can use. You can see the broadband connection is up. You can restart, which is a really handy feature if your cellular is kind of acting up. You can just restart the cellular connection and not have to fully restart the entire gateway. Alright, so this allows you to view things. Now there's a device list setting there that shows you all the devices that are connected along with their IP address and their MAC address. We go system settings, access code. For this one, for some of these settings you have to type in the password, so this is one that you do have to type in. Alright, so once I typed in my access code, which is separate from the Wi-Fi password, but they're both out here on the sticker, you can change it to something else. You can also control the tech access, so you can give a password that allows, I think this is mainly for a service technician to access your device and be able to change things. And so this allows you to do that. You can restart the device, I said, but broadband, we can get some more information here on the broadband, where we can go in here and see when I have IPv6 is on and up. You can see that we have our public facing IPv4 address, and we can look at any kind of IPv6 errors or packets that are being lost. So we can go in here to configure. So this is the MTU. It's kind of interesting that they allow this as a setting for you to mess with. I would not mess with this based off what they have it set at. 1430 is probably correct for the AT&T network. Alright, so this one shows you the basically your cell signal, your SIM information. So you have some things like your IMEI and EID that is just for your specific SIM. You can see where you're connected to. Now on this one here, you can see I'm on band 12 and I have really bad cell signal, and so it also means that I don't get these neighboring cells. If I was upstairs doing this, you would see a lot more of these because I would have a better connection. Alright, so under the home network I see a few interesting tidbits of information here. One of them is that it is a IP pass-through status as off. Which means maybe there's an on button, which would be great if I can do IP pass-through from this device to my own personal router setup. I actually have a mesh setup across a few buildings to get internet to all of them. So IP pass-through would be nice. You can see some more statistics there for anything dropped. You can see some more information about your Wi-Fi radios. It looks like there is a test that it's going to look for different Wi-Fi congestion or other signals that are out there clogging up the airways with with their own Wi-Fi signal. So this will help you maybe pick a channel that is best suited for your space. So that's all good to have. Let's go in here to configure and just see what else we can do here. So it's interesting because they list out multiple ports, and I know on some of the previous hardware pictures I've seen, they had more ports available, but here they obviously show 4 ports available, but there's only 2 physical Ethernet ports on the back of the unit. So IPv6 is all on, which is good. I would leave that on unless you have a reason to turn it off. Here is the password for all the Wi-Fi, including the guest SSID that you can adjust or change. For MAC filtering, that's basically like if you want to put a specific device on 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz, this allows you to do that, which is kind of nice because some devices have trouble picking between the two of them. The easier way, in my opinion, is I just split the 2.4 gigahertz and the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, and I tell the device to hook up to whichever one makes most sense for it. So that's how I do it, but you can do that here as well with the MAC address, which is kind of a unique name for the device. Alright, so subnets and DHCP. This is a really powerful section because, one, you're telling this if it's going to have the DHCP server enabled, which by default it is, but you could turn that off. The other thing is the public subnet mode, if you want that to be on or not. This means that the local devices that you have behind this will get a public IPv6. Alright, this is a kind of interesting section here because this one has some powerful stuff, and one of them is turning off the DHCP server on this device. If you have multiple ones assigning IP addresses, you can get IP conflicts or issues going. So you might want to turn that off depending on if you have your own personal router behind the scenes there. And then the public subnet, you can tell this to allow IPv6 public subnet, which means that all of your devices on the local network will get a public IPv6, and that will allow access to them from the outside of your home network there. Which, if you want it, is good. If you don't want it, it's probably actually bad. But it's off by default. The next one is cascaded router. So this is what they have as a setting that is when you have your own personal router behind this one. So plugged into this one would be considered behind it. And it's by default off, but you can turn it on. And then all over to the right, you can see that it tells you it's going to give your other router an IP address, and so that's what will be typed in. But if you want it to be passed through, you give your router a IPv or an IP address of 0.0.0.0, and it will know that that means that your personal router is getting IP passed through. So that's kind of a cool setting there. Lastly, we can see the IP allocation. This is basically just another name for a device list, I think. Alright, and then this other section here, the IP allocation, is really kind of handy for devices that you want to have the same IP address. This allows the device himself to be listed as a dynamic IP or DHCP served device, but in here you can allocate a specific IP to that device, so every time it comes in to get it, it's going to get that same one. So kind of giving it a static IP without having to hard code it on the device itself. So that could be helpful for some folks. On the firewall side, you can see high level of the packet filter is on by default, IP pass-through is off, NAT default server is off, and firewall advanced is on. So we can go through here and we can adjust things like these packet filters for different versions on if we want to. Alright, so here in the packet filter you can add rules to drop packets or to pass packets based off your specific criteria there. For the NAT and gaming, this is really big for a lot of gamers, as far as these other ones don't have a lot of gaming support. This one looks like it actually has built-in gaming, where you can go in here and select what game you're playing, and you can make sure that you get all the details covered in there. So I don't have the full list of what all these games are, but it looks pretty comprehensive to me. And then you can give it the IP address of your console or your computer if that's what you're playing there. So that's kind of a nice feature that I think some of these other ones are missing. So that's good. Alright, so here is the IP pass-through setting on the gateway, and now the default is for it to be off. Over on the right, again, it gives you a lot of details as far as what does it mean for like a default server one, and for that one, it only passes on the TCP and the UDP protocols to that specific IP address that you had it. So that would be for something like a server that is maybe accepting lots of different ports, and you might not even know all the different ports that the incoming data is coming in on. Or they mention gaming. Sometimes games pick a random port from a security standpoint, and so you'd want to be able to have any of them that come in to go to that, like PlayStation or Xbox or whatnot. So for that one, you would pick default server, not the off, and then this is what you get. From the list, you can pick a device, or you can type in a manual entry and give it some other information. Now, the last one is a full pass-through, which is basically sending over everything over there, and you can pick from a couple different modes of either fixed, dynamic, or manual for the setup. So that's a nice feature to have. A lot of the ISPs in the cellular range do not have that feature, or don't have as advanced of capabilities here with this IP pass-through settings, where you can pick a couple different layers of it. So that's probably a really good and unique feature of this AT&T device. For the advanced firewall, these are just a couple check boxes on or off for specific firewall features. If you don't know about these, you probably don't, and you can just leave them as the default. But if something comes up or you hear about it, I do hear about some of the SIP ALG, that last one there. I think that is used sometimes for voice over IP, like phone calls, that type of thing. So some people might need to adjust that setting. But again, I wouldn't really mess with those unless you have a specific need. And then lastly, they have parental controls, but they only allow you to change that in the Smart Home Manager app. I think it gives you some control over specific devices, what time of day they're on, or maybe how many hours, or what types of sites you want to help curtail or block. Lastly, we have Diagnostics tab, and so you have some troubleshooting capability here for Ethernet, IP, DNS. You can test internet access to make sure you can get to specific websites from the gateway itself, and that would at least rule out if it's the gateway, and AT&T, maybe it's your device if something doesn't work. You can do speed test here. It looks like it does a speed test every time you plug the device in. That's why I have these set up here. And you can see some of them are really slow when they're in the basement. Other ones are much faster, and that's when the device was upstairs. So you can run those directly from here as well. You have a logs tab, you have an update tab. Now this update is for the router portion of this device. And there's also a 5G update, which is for the modem portion of this device that you can upload. And then resets, I actually like this because this resets has a lot of options where you don't have to just revert to unplug and replug the gateway and have it reboot. You can just reset specific things or recall your settings as well. You don't have to do a full factory reset. You can just restore some settings back the way they were before, which I thought was pretty handy to have. System log, I'm not going to get into that. That's probably not a big deal. Event notification, again, probably not a significant deal to most of you guys. And NAT table as well is probably insignificant. So that's what it has. It is not, fully open, but it is pretty good as far as the types of settings that you get. Verizon also has a lot of these capabilities, and T-Mobile does not. T-Mobile is very locked down. But this one appears to still not have some abilities to do like band locking and that kind of stuff from anything that I can see, which I'm not surprised about. For that one, again, you'd have to go to a third-party router gateway device that I've covered on my channel in the past, and I'll get to testing that with this kind of stuff here. And one of the important things here is that this supposedly has a physical SIM card. I'm not going to cover it because I'm out of time in this video, but that's a upcoming video. We'll talk about a physical SIM card and what does that mean that you can do with this service. So let's leave it at that, and thanks for watching.